Coming up on Real Health today, we explore the gut-brain connection and also discuss solutions to improve your gut bacteria for improved mental health. We look at the prevention and treatment of computer vision syndrome. We find out more about the signs that could be an indication that you are unhealthy. But first, we look at protein deficiency and natural ways to supplement it. Hello and welcome to Real Health. I'm Michael Porter, and thank you so much for tuning in this week. So we all know that we need protein. It's an essential macronutrient that's needed by the body to function optimally. And although we should be getting it from the foods we eat on a daily basis, oftentimes in the modern world we live in, even if you're eating a nutrient-rich whole foods diet, you may still be lacking in a range of nutrients, including protein. Now, the Real Health team is always on the lookout for natural products available on the market. We like to try them out and add them to the Real Health medicine cabinet if we like them, and invite experts into the studio to share their opinions on these and the health conditions that they're good for. This time around, we found an algae-based supplement which can boost your protein levels and your health. But first, homeopath Dr. Werner is here to chat to us about protein deficiency, and the natural ways of supplementing it. Welcome to the studio, Dr. Werner.
Thank you, Michael.
Excellent. Now, Werner, protein, what is the essential reason why we need protein in the body?
Well, protein is really a basic building block in your body. Every cell requires protein.
Okay.
So it forms part of your connective tissue, it forms part of your blood, it forms part of your bones, it forms part of your muscles, your skin. So every tissue almost needs protein for its structural integrity as well. And then it also is part of supplying amino acids to your body, from which you have to manufacture things like enzymes and hormones and other biochemicals that are used in your body for its processes. So it's really an important, critically important part. For example, people don't even realize this, but your hair and your nails even are mostly protein as well.
And how much protein ideally do you need on a daily basis to maintain all of those elements in the body?
Obviously, it depends on body size and these sort of things, but if you look at different categories of people, if you look at, for example, teenage boys, because they're growing, as well as very active adult men, they could require approximately 200 grams per day. In the typical Western diet, meat-based diet, we do actually consume too much protein. But if you look at, for example, kids 4 years to 6 years old, and also if you look at your aged after 70 to 80, etc., those requirements are very low, possibly around about, or maybe 140 to 150 grams per day. And then if you look at girls, as well as women, most women, approximately 160, 170, maybe 180 grams, and also most adult males, if they are not active, up to 180 grams per day in portions throughout the day.
So I suppose those 500 gram steaks at the restaurant are really not essential. They're nice to have sometimes, but not a necessity.
Totally unnecessary. Yes, it's nice to have sometimes, but there's a bit of a myth that people think that you're going to be stronger if you eat more protein, and it's actually not true. It doesn't make you any stronger. It's only if you are actively building muscle or actively in the gym, then yes, you might require more protein, and then that would be needed.
If you eat excessive amounts of protein, but you're not using it physically in workouts or just in burning it up in your normal daily processes, is there a potential of gaining weight and obesity?
Yes, absolutely. The thing about protein is your body doesn't really have the capacity to store protein as it does, for example, sugar or some other nutrients or fat, etc. It doesn't have the capacity to store it, like iron. What it does is it converts the excess protein into fat and then stores it. As well as actually excreting the excess amino acids that it's not using from what was digested through the kidneys and through the urine.
And that's why your kidneys and you can take strain from too much.
Yes,
Who is at risk of not getting enough protein? Obviously, immediately my mind jumps to vegans. It's a difficult diet to get the required amount of protein. Who else might not be getting enough or as much as they need?
Sure. So there's several directions that one can go when you're talking about protein deficiency as such. Firstly, of course, it would be starvation. Malabsorption, malnutrition, those sort of things. That would be the one category. Then you can look at disease categories, people who have liver disease, people who have kidney disease, or diseases that do affect the kidneys, for example, diabetes or high blood pressure. people who have those sort of issues could have protein issues.
Okay.
People with restrictive diets, people with conditions where you actually can't absorb, for example, celiac disease, or for example, inflammatory bowel disease.
Yes.
Those people have absorption issues,
Yes.
so they could end up with protein deficiencies,
Okay,
definitely.
okay.
And then, of course, where people go overboard with restricting too much and
Yes.
actually not getting the correct type of protein in.
Okay.
For people who are unfamiliar with when they go vegan or vegetarian, for example, very often the mistake that they make is they eat excess carbohydrates, and they don't
Okay,
realize you
make up
actually
for it.
do need to provide protein as well.
Yes,
They think
yes.
the carbohydrate is going to supply the energy that they're lacking. So that is a trick to look out for.
So let's just jump back to restrictive diets. So things like a Banting diet or a keto diet, where they are quite protein heavy. I know a couple of people who've gone too far into the protein part and then neglected the vegetable side of things. What is the risk there? Because obviously you now have an imbalanced diet and you have too much of one and not enough of the other to kind of keep everything working well.
Yes. Well, make no mistake, those diets do work,
Yes.
but they're not a long-term solution.
Yes, absolutely.
Your nutrition is supposed to be balanced. We all need vegetables.
Absolutely.
You absolutely cannot get everything that you require from protein only.
Because your major
Absolutely
source of
not.
vitamins are from vegetables.
Absolutely, vegetables and plants.
Yeah.
On the reverse side of that, you can get absolutely everything that you require from plant-based nutrition.
Okay, right, yes.
So, even though those things work, it's a tricky situation.
Yeah.
And again, it should be
To
done
serve a purpose.
wisely. Yes. Yeah.
Let's go to that point about vegetables and plant-based diets being able to serve all that you do need. What are the main sources of protein within the plant world?
So the plant world is actually very wide with protein sources. Typically, people would think of beans
yeah.
and or legumes and nuts. Those are the first things people will think of. But there are also some other grains that are good in protein. The good thing to do in terms of plant-based is that you have to actually eat all of them.
Okay.
And not say, oh, but lentils have most of it, so I should only eat rice and lentils.
Right,
or
yes.
Nuts are a fantastic source, so I'm only going to eat nuts. The issue with plant-based is very few plants actually have all the amino acids that your body cannot manufacture itself.
Okay,
That's
okay.
the so-called essential amino acids.
Yes,
Your body critically has to get them from food.
Okay.
And obviously meat-based diet will give you all of those. There's only very few plants, and one that I really like is actually hemp. Hemp seeds.
Okay.
One of the very few plants that actually give you all the amino acids.
Okay. Now, I've heard talk of, I think it's lentils and brown rice results in a complete protein. How does that work? Rice to me and protein doesn't make any sense, but how does that work?
Well, it has to be short grain brown rice, first of all. It's just the type of protein that the combination gives you. It gives you everything.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a simple answer.
Yes. So as you say, though, one without the other is not a complete protein,
Correct,
so you've got
yes.
to combine.
Yeah, and you can't do only the one consistently all the time.
Right.
You do need variation.
Okay.
Just because that one doesn't deliver everything.
Okay, fantastic.
Except for a few exceptions, like your hemp seeds, etc.
Yes, yeah. In terms of meat proteins, obviously steak, chicken, things like that, what are the best sources of protein that are healthy in terms of they're not going to cause excessive weight gain?
So again, I mean, there's a lot of different schools of thought there because of the whole Banting issue and keto diets, etc., etc. My personal opinion is just eat a balance.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, your chicken, your red meat, fish shouldn't be eaten too much, simply because of mercury accumulation that could be a problem.
Okay.
So the typical advice is possibly 2 times a week.
Things like eggs?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, eggs are actually really, really nutritious, really nutritious. And they've had a bad rap for cholesterol and all these sort of things, which are actually not really correct.
Yes.
They are actually really beneficial. But the point I want to make is make sure that it's good quality meat.
Yes, absolutely.
Make sure that it's organic as far as possible, or grass-fed, all those sort of things. If it's free-range eggs and all free-range chicken, etc. Free-range fish is a bit of a misnomer.
Well, we mentioned supplementation in terms of protein a little bit earlier, and we've got a chlorella and spirulina product here, which are powdered supplements of essentially algae. Tell us about algae and protein, because I mean it's not something that I would have associated with a protein supplement.
Yes. So algae is actually a very good source of protein. yes, you would need to consume quite a bit of it to reach the levels where you would satisfy your daily requirements.
Yes.
But it's not meant to be taken in that way as a complete replacement.
Right.
It's more meant as a supplement to whatever else you are taking.
Okay.
So, for example, a vegan who eats nuts and eats this and eats that, etc., to get the protein, maybe some soy. Many vegans don't even like soy. They can add an algae-based shake or an algae-based powder or tablet or whatever to add that extra bit of protein.
Right.
So the reason algae is a very good source is because if you look at many of your plant sources, they have a life cycle and they can only be harvested once a year. Some plants twice a year, but most of them only once a year. So there's a limit to the amount or the surface area that can be used as arable land for farming purposes.
Yes.
How much can you derive from that? So soy, for example, even though it's a good source of protein, also not a complete protein.
Yes.
But there's a lot of soy being grown. The amount that it can deliver is limited.
Yes.
Yet it is a big cause of deforestation.
Okay.
Because it needs arable land.
Yes.
So that is where algae comes in as a really good alternative for supplementation purposes.
Right.
Because you can grow algae continuously. It doesn't go through a cycle where you can only harvest it once or twice a year. The advantage is that it doesn't require arable land. It can be grown in a desert. It can be grown in a mountain. It can be grown anywhere.
What are the other benefits of spirulina and chlorella apart from purely the protein aspect of them?
Over and beyond the protein, they do actually contain vitamins. Some of those vitamins could include your B1, B2, B6. Spirulina has been said to contain B12 as well.
Right.
But the type of B12 is not actually the true B12. It's a false B12.
Right.
So it's not really that beneficial from that angle. It contains minerals because it absorbs it from the water. So it contains things like zinc, like iron. Chlorella, for example, is extremely high in iron, so it's a very good source of iron, non-meat source. Very good for vegetarians.
Is it something that anybody could take? Should I be concerned if I'm taking some sort of medication? And also children, are they able to take it as well?
Sure. Generally speaking, algae are safe. So chlorella and spirulina is safe to use, except for people who might be on immunosuppressant therapy. Drugs. So in that situation, simply because algae can stimulate the immune system, so you don't want that situation. And then the big other one is people who are on blood thinners. Both spirulina and chlorella can actually advance those medications.
Interesting.
So you should be aware of that. And if you're on blood thinners like warfarin, you need to be careful.
So best to chat to a practitioner if you are on any sort of
Absolutely.
medication.
Look, it's a food.
Yes.
But just like many other foods, it can interact with medicines.
Wonderful. Where do we get this product from?
So currently available at Wellness Warehouse, both the chlorella powder as well as the spirulina powder. Also available online from Faithful to Nature. And people can visit our website, floraforce.co.za, where they can be redirected where they can find it as well.
Super. Thank you very much.
Thank you.